I never could have guessed that the woman I promised to stay with until the end of time would end up standing right next to the very man who tried to take everything I worked for. This is a story about trust, secrets, and how a quiet life can be much stronger than a loud one. For 4 long and mostly happy years, I lived a very quiet and peaceful life with my wife, Claire. We were not what people call rich. We did not have fancy, shiny cars that cost a lot of money, and we did not fly away to expensive islands for vacations every few months. Instead, we found joy in the small things, like the way the morning light hit our wooden kitchen table or the sound of the rain on our small roof while we watched a movie together. Our bank account was not overflowing with extra cash, but I truly believed in my heart that we had something much more precious than gold or silver. We had trust. We had a bond that I thought could never be broken by anyone. Claire used to look me in the eyes and tell me that our simple life, in our small home, was more than enough for her. She told me she loved me because I was a good man who treated her with kindness, listened to her, and showed her respect every single day. But everything started to shift and turn cold when she began working very closely with a man named Victor Hale. Victor was the billionaire boss of the huge company where she had a job. At the beginning of all this, I did not think it was a big deal. I knew that people who are very successful and run big businesses often have to work late and stay busy, and I trusted my wife completely. I wanted her to be happy and to do well in her career because I loved her. But slowly, bit by bit, things began to feel different at home. The house felt a little emptier, and the air between us felt a little heavier. Those late-night meetings at the office started to happen every week. Then every other day, I began to notice her taking secret phone calls in the other room, whispering so I could not hear. When she came back into the room, she would act nervous and put her phone face down on the table. She started coming home with very expensive clothes, fancy handbags, and shiny shoes that she had never cared about before. It felt like she was trying to act like she belonged to a fancy world that was very far away from the life we built together. I did not know at the time, but her big trip on a private plane with her rich boss would soon show a secret that tied all of us together in a way that nobody could have seen coming. Victor Hale was the kind of man whose name you saw everywhere. He was famous. His companies were in charge of almost everything you use in daily life, from the electronics in your pocket to the food on your plates. His face was on the cover of every big magazine, and people treated him like he was a king who could never be touched by trouble. To the people watching on TV, he was a brilliant genius who built a giant mountain of success from nothing at all. He was seen as a hero of the business world, a man who could do no wrong. But I knew a side of Victor that most people in the world had never caught a glimpse of. Many years before I ever met Claire, I had a very different kind of job. I worked as a person who looked deep into big companies to see if they were being honest. My job was to find out if people were hiding money that was not theirs, making secret deals that hurt others, or doing things that were against the rules. I was like a detective for numbers and contracts. During one very big project, I found a lot of proof that Victor's company was doing things that were very wrong. I saw records of money being taken from people who couldn't afford to lose it, and lies being told to the people who were supposed to be watching the rules. But before I could tell everyone and show the truth, I decided to walk away from that world entirely. I did not leave because I was scared of him or his power. I left because I wanted a life that was calm and quiet, away from all the lying and the greed. I wanted to be a person who could sleep soundly at night without worrying about corporate battles. However, I did not just throw away what I found. I kept every single paper, every digital record, and every tiny detail locked away in a safe and secret place. I kept them as a way to protect the truth. When Claire first started her job working for Victor, I never imagined that those old, dusty files would ever matter again. I never thought the same man my wife was secretly traveling with would one day have to stand face to face with the one person who knew all his bad secrets. This luxury trip was supposed to be the most exciting thing Claire had ever done. She told me it was just for work and a big chance to meet very important people who could help her career grow. She said it was a moment that could change our future forever. But the things she told me never seemed to add up correctly. Her stories had holes in them, and she would not give me straight answers to very simple questions. Whenever I even said Victor's name, she would get very upset and start acting like she had to protect him from me. She would say I was being too worried or that I didn't understand the way the world worked. Then, one night, I saw a little message pop up on her phone that she tried to hide from me very quickly. It was not a message about a meeting or a project or a spreadsheet. It was a message from Victor himself. The way he wrote to her was not like a boss talking to a worker. It was very personal, very private, and very wrong. That was the moment I stopped making up excuses for her in my head. I did not yell at her or start a fight right then because I wanted to know the whole, real truth. I needed to see just how far this lie went before I took action. When I found out they were getting ready to fly away together on a private jet to a beautiful island, I made a big decision. I was not going to that airport to start a fight. I was not going there to cry or beg her to come back home. I was going there because I needed both of them to understand one very important thing. They had no idea how much they had messed up by hurting me. They thought I was just a plain, boring husband who did not know anything about the world of money and power. They had absolutely no idea who they were really dealing with. The place where the private jets take off was like something out of a movie. It was clean, quiet, and felt very cold. There were very expensive cars parked all along the front. There were many guards in suits watching everyone, and very rich people were walking around like they owned the entire world. I saw Claire walking right next to Victor. She was wearing a dress that cost more than our first car, and was laughing at something he said. She looked very sure of herself, like she had finally found where she belonged. She had no clue that I was standing just a few feet away, watching her. She looked happier than she had been in a very long time. But then Victor's eyes moved and he saw me. The second our eyes met, his whole face changed. All that confidence he had just a moment ago completely disappeared. He stopped smiling, and his hands started to shake. The billionaire that everyone was afraid of actually looked like he was the one who was scared. Claire looked at him and then at me, feeling very confused. She asked him, "Do you know who this is?" Victor did not say anything at first. He just kept staring at me because he finally remembered. He remembered my name from the old days. He remembered the big investigation I had done and the way I wouldn't back down. He remembered all the proof I had found that could ruin his life and his reputation. Finally, he whispered in a very quiet, broken voice, "You are the man who looks for secrets." Claire looked back and forth between us, trying to figure out what was going on. She thought she was standing next to the most powerful man on earth. She did not realize that the only person Victor was actually afraid of was standing right in front of him, wearing a simple jacket and a pair of old jeans. I did not shout out Victor's secrets in front of all those people. I did not need to do that. Real power does not always have to be loud and noisy. Sometimes real power is just knowing the truth and waiting for the right moment to use it. It is like holding the only key to a very heavy door. I looked at Claire and I told her, "You picked this kind of life without ever knowing what you were really getting into." She started to defend Victor right away. She told me I was just being mean and trying to ruin her happy time because I was jealous of his success. But she did not understand what was happening. This was not about me trying to get back at her for leaving. This was about the things that happen when you choose a path built on lies. Victor pulled me to the side and asked me what I wanted from him to stay quiet. He offered me millions of dollars. He offered to protect me. And he offered anything else he thought could make his big problem go away. He thought everyone had a price, and he thought he could buy his way out of the truth. But he still did not know who I was. I was not interested in his piles of money. I had already walked away from a life of wealth a long time ago. I told him that the only thing I wanted was for the truth to finally come out. His whole life was built on secrets, and secrets always fall down eventually like a tower made of cards. The man who thought he could boss everyone around suddenly realized he could not control the one person who had the proof to stop him. When Claire finally heard the whole story and saw the truth, her whole world flipped upside down. She realized she had been so excited by the money and the fancy lifestyle that she never looked at the bad things hiding behind it. She thought she was choosing a better future for herself, but she had actually joined a world that was very dangerous and dishonest. I showed her the old papers I had kept for so many years. I showed her the records that proved Victor's company was not the perfect place everyone thought it was. I showed her how he had cheated his way to the top. She could not believe that the quiet husband she had ignored was the same person that a billionaire was terrified of. She told me she was so sorry and said she never knew any of this. But that was the real problem. She never cared enough to ask or to see me for who I really was. She judged my life only by what she could see with her eyes. While Victor's entire world was built on hiding the things people could not see, mine was built on things that were real and honest. I told her that breaking her promise to me was not just about finding a richer man. It was about her thinking I was worth nothing just because I chose to live a quiet life instead of a loud, rich one. She finally saw the giant mistake she had made, but she learned that lesson too late to change things. In the weeks after that day at the airport, everything changed for everyone. Victor's company started to be looked at by the police and the government. The perfect image he had spent years building started to wash away like paint in the rain. The same people who used to say he was a hero started to say he was a liar and a cheat. Claire had to face the hard truth of the choices she made. The fancy hotels and the private planes were never what they seemed to be. Behind all that sparkle were secrets and lies that finally caught up to them. As for me, I went back to the life I always loved, a peaceful life built on being honest and kind. Many people ask me why I did not use my secrets to stop Victor a long time ago. The answer is simple. I was not waiting to be mean or to get revenge. I was just waiting for the truth to be the most important thing. I learned that people who build their lives by tricking others will always get caught in their own traps. Claire thought leaving me for a billionaire meant she was moving up in the world. Instead, she found out that the man she left behind was the one person who was strong enough to bring everything down. Looking back, that airport was where everything changed for good. Claire arrived there thinking she was entering a world of magic and money. I arrived there knowing exactly what was real. She thought she had picked a winner, but she did not know she had walked away from the person who had the most power of all. Victor had all the money in the world, but that could not protect him from the truth. My wife picked him because she thought he was too big to fail. She never expected that the husband she didn't think much of was the one person who could truly challenge him. In the end, I did not have to do much to ruin Victor. His own lies did that for him. I did not lose my wife because of another man. I lost her because she stopped seeing why I was special. But that sad time taught me a big lesson. Never think someone is weak just because they are quiet. Sometimes the person standing quietly in the back is the one holding the power that can change the whole world. I may not have the fancy cars or the big house, but I have my truth, and that is more than enough. I have a life built on solid ground, and no matter how hard the wind blows, I know that the things that truly matter will always remain standing. Truth is the ultimate power, and it never fades away.